we are. We hope you enjoy this show.
Hello and good afternoon to everyone in UK and good evening to people in UAE. Welcome back to my lunch show on Teachers Talk Radio, and I'm your host Famida Choudhary, back again with an exciting episode, actually a show, and that is Listening Beyond the Answer, creating space for children's authentic voices. That's going to be our topic of discussion today. And just want to ask all my listeners out there, here we are, all of my educators are gone on summer vacation, and I'm sure they're enjoying their summer vacation with family and friends, because this is the much needed break required. Same is with, I guess, my guest today. And Saira, before I get into any conversation ahead, I really want to ask you, how are you spending your summer? Have you traveled? Are you here? What you doing?
Hi, Famida. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to your show. I've had a look at your LinkedIn post, and I think you're doing amazing work. It is so important to get all these small conversations going. But first, I'm going to start with my vacation, my summer break. I am back home in the UK, and I'm doing my favorite thing, which is absolutely nothing.
I love that. I think, sometimes we do so much. I'm sure everyone, all educators out there listening to me would agree that we do so much of multitasking, and this break that we really get it. We just want to chill, like stay cool, and as you mentioned, do
Yeah, no,
nothing.
100%. I have nothing on my agenda. Every day I wake up and I have no plan. So no, I'm really enjoying doing nothing.
That's great. I think that's our first key takeaway, that educators also do have that me time of doing nothing. And you should put that on your list and add it, because I think we deserve it. Okay, moving.
Absolutely.
Yes, moving forward with my topic for today. As educators, we spend our days asking children a lot of questions. This is when we are actually doing our teaching. Like, I'm sure we do agree that as HRs or homeroom teachers, or even subject teachers for that matter, we do have these informal conversations with children. How are you? Did you finish your work? What did you do at the weekend? Or how have you learned a new skill? Or it could be something like that. But today I'm going to ask like a different question: do we really listen to children? So that is all about my show today. So not simply to their words or to their feelings, their frustrations, their fears, or their hopes. Sometimes children ask, or basically answer, exactly what we expect. Sometimes they surprise us, and sometimes they hold up a mirror that challenges us as adults. So today's conversation was inspired by this beautiful story that Saira had shared on her LinkedIn post. And when I read it, I said, I need to get Saira on my show and have this conversation, which will spark some thinking for people listening to us today. And so, Saira, I think I really want to tell you that you have shared your thoughts from both perspective, as an educator and as a parent. So I just want to start off directly by you telling us, and telling your story, telling us little about yourself, and who is Saira beyond the classroom.
First of all, Famida, do you know? I mean, you wouldn't know, but when I was a kid, I always wanted to host a talk show. So I'm very excited right now to be a guest on this talk show.
Oh,
I'm a simple person, Famida. I love meaningful conversations. I love genuine connections. I love life. I love learning. I'm a very reflective person and I'm an overthinker, which is actually not a good combination if you ask me, because I keep reflecting and then I keep overthinking. But
mhm.
that's just who I am, you know. I love to just learn through life and grow. I am a mom to two wonderful children who keep me on my toes. And who always hold a mirror in their hands, like you just mentioned. Sometimes children show us mirror, and
Yes.
yeah, and I think they challenge me. They want, because of them, I just want to be a better person, you know. So I haven't figured everything out like all of us, but
Mhm.
I genuinely do love sharing my experiences, and I just love listening to other people's experiences as well. Yeah, so I enjoy simple things. For me, I'm a simple person.
I'm glad to know that. But I just want to share this thought that you've been very humble enough to say that you are a simple person. But I think as educators, we are the most complicated people.
Our profession is, yes.
Yes, yes. And the way we look at, and because I think even saying that we are we do a lot of multitasking is an understatement, because I think we go far beyond even multitasking when we
I
are
think
as.
I think we don't even realize what we're doing, to be honest.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, I'm glad that you've introduced yourself. That yeah, you are a thinker. You want to, you love talking. That's amazing, and me too. That is why I am also a part of Teachers Talk Radio, and I think Saira, you also too can join us for
Oh, I
Teachers
would
Talk.
I would love to, honestly. I can
Yes,
talk. I love to
because
talk.
it is just these conversations that make us think beyond and contemplate, and maybe also spread the spark of ideas where all our fellow friends can actually take some key takeaways. And
100%. I totally agree with you, Famida, and that's why I think what you're doing is incredible.
yeah,
Just to
all
talk
thanks
and
to.
learn of each other's experience is very nice.
Yes, yes. All thanks to TTR, especially Tom, who has actually taken this vision on of teachers getting together and having this talk show and taking it at a very different level. So, moving ahead with our conversation today. So, Saira, you said that I mean to say, when I mentioned this, you are both a teacher and a mom. So, and have these two roles shaped each other? How your children change the way you teach? Now, why I'm actually getting your life and your role as a kind of conversation for today's topic, which is actually to remind my listeners, listening beyond the answer, creating space for children's authentic voices. It is so true that, being parents also at the same time, dealing with different age groups and our kids back home also supports a lot of this listening that can go beyond just answering. So over to you, Saira. I'm really looking forward some practical advice that you can give us where educators, parents both can benefit out of it.
Famida, I think 100% being a teacher and parent, both these things completely overlap. I have seen positives and negatives to it, if I'm being honest. The positives I feel because I'm a parent, I am more compassionate, I would say, as a teacher, because when you're a mom, you're a universal mom, you're everybody's mom, you know, and
Correct.
you look at every child as if, like, yeah, this could be my own child.
Hmm.
So I think that maternal instinct is always there, which I think helps me just be a bit more vigilant, I would say, with just observing everybody in class, even when they're doing their work. I'm not just looking at their work, I'm just looking at them. And
Hmm.
sometimes if a child is a bit more quieter, and then, you can pick on these things because you're just so used to having that sort of vigilance as a parent.
Correct.
And I also 100% feel that being a teacher has 100% made me a better parent, because I think I've just become more patient, because I feel we're very patient as teachers. Of course, our profession requires us to be within certain boundaries and things like that. But I think we're less patient with our own children.
Correct.
And I genuinely feel that after becoming a teacher, I have that thought that if I can be patient with other children, I should be with my own as well. So 100%, there is that positive effect on both situations. I would say there is a bit of a negative where, at the end of the day, I'm used to just like 24 children needing my attention. And then when you're done and it's home time and I sit in the car, and then my two kids want to tell me about their whole day. So you don't get that pause or
Hmm.
break from constantly being needed,
Hmm.
which can sometimes, be overwhelming. And the other thing is, the opposite thing is also like, if I weren't a parent, I would just get up in the morning, get ready, dress up, go to work. But when I am a parent, I wake up earlier, I make lunches, I sort the kids out, get them ready for, that it's a whole shebang in the morning. So by the
Hmm.
time I'm in my class, quite a bit of my battery is already drained. So there can be both positives and negatives, but it is what it is, and you are in that situation, and you just kind of have to find a balance.
Hmm.
Um, and I find that balance because I go earlier to school, so I have enough time in the morning to kind of reset my brain before my students come in. At the same time, when I go home, I have made a pact with my children that when we go home, I make
Hmm.
myself a cup of coffee, and I just told them, as long as mama's having this coffee, nobody talk to me. And I've explained them why. I've told them, look, this is the reason I'm so overstimulated the whole day. If you
Hmm.
can give me these 20 minutes to just be without any noise or anybody talking to me, that means I can be a better mama. So my kids understand that, and we're in this routine where when I go home, that's their time to use their iPad. I sort their dinner out, and then when they're having their dinner, I do my walk, and then when we're done with everything is when we sit together intentionally to just chat up about our day. So I
Hmm.
think that kind of routine works for me to reset my brain after the working day, and I can
Hmm.
just be more present with my kids. But I also explain to them why I need those 15-20 minutes to myself.
Yes. So
So
I
it is about trying to strike a balance, I think, between the two.
Absolutely, Saira. So I completely agree to the way you have explained the two roles that you have been playing and how they can be a positive side to it, and there can be some negative. But I think there's a clear demarcation, or you have set some boundaries, as you mentioned, where you explain your children about how you can, you both can give each other that time and have conversations. I think that's one fantastic key takeaway to start off our session for today. Listening beyond the answer is, I think, setting boundaries or routines. It could work in both ways, whether it's the classroom or whether it's at home. In classroom, where you mentioned, was as simple as going early to school and getting that reset for yourself, so that you start off the day well. And I too agree with this, because I myself make sure that I reach school at least 1 hour or half an hour before. It's just that you have your breakfast, you have your class set, you have those routines there, and you're there to welcome the children. That gives a different start on the entire day. And I also agree to the fact that when you mentioned that when the entire day is done, you might have gone through different situations, and it has been hectic. You've been maybe going by class to class, doing so much of other work, and then you have your little ones waiting home to just just vent out things or talk to you or just have conversation with you. But I think the best key takeaway that we've got at the start of it is setting a routine that's going to really work wonders in both ways. Moving beyond, my next segment, Saira, would be listening without judgment. I thought of asking this, like, according to your experience or what you've gone through, why do you think adults find it difficult to simply listen? This is not like, I know you spoke about the maternal instinct, that if yeah that we have god gifts is there, but besides that, what would your say be on this?
I think as adults, we're just used to kind of being problem solvers, where when somebody tells us something, we just quickly want to maybe fix it or want to teach something in the moment. And that's why we just don't pause to listen. And I just think sometimes we are so busy and overstimulated ourselves, where to be a good listener, first, you need to be okay to hold that space for somebody else.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I do think this is why maybe sometimes we just rush to find a solution, or sometimes we as parents, I feel we just think like we want to teach in every single opportunity that we can get, and sometimes the child just wants us to listen and actually not do anything about it
Hmm.
you know
I also feel, sometimes this has happened with me too. In the what you say, in the process of listening, I have at times come to conclusions, like
yeah.
even if a child is trying to share something with me, and maybe there would be what you say hindrances, like maybe speech or is not able to put his thoughts clearly. And or secondly, and I'm as educators, we are so busy, we want to do everything very quickly.
Quickly.
Yes, so I might be in a situation that I if he's saying something, I would just draw a conclusion. Okay, this has happened earlier, and I know what it could lead to, or what I could go ahead. So, what my question here is, Saira, is do you think I should sit and listen clearly and give that much time, or is it okay to come to a conclusion, think from my experience, and maybe tackle the situation? This
Do
is
you know,
maybe
like
for my
I so agree with what you said, because sometimes children, they speak very like slow, obviously because they have less words. Especially, for example, I teach year one, and those are
Mm,
like 5 and 6 year old children, and
mm.
sometimes you're just tempted to finish their sentence for them,
Yes, yes,
and that shouldn't be the case, because as much as we want to do it, that means they would be hesitant to then come and talk again.
correct.
And I think
Sometimes they keep words in their mouth, and I have noticed that once upon a time, I remember one of our basic counselors who was there with the situation, and she's like, "You need to wait. We need to listen to him. We need to give a listening ear to the child." So, how
yeah.
and why it is important. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if a child starts speaking, for example, in the middle of a lesson, then you tackle that differently. But then if it is a moment where you do have time to listen to that child in detail, I know how difficult that is, because sometimes you need to just completely like just email a parent or something, and this child just like slowly telling their whole story. But I
Mm,
think that email can wait, because if we don't give that child the chance to just like making eye contact with them and really making them feel that we're actually listening to whatever they're saying,
mm,
because if they're telling it to us, that means it is important to them. And no, especially like in school, because the kids are so young, we don't know what they go what we don't know what their circumstances at home are. For
correct.
some children, their connection with their teacher is very important, and I think
Yes.
all these small things build up that connection. So I know it's not, as adults, we have to give ourselves grace as well. But I think when a child, or for example, like sometimes if I'm extremely busy, like this I could do with my own kids. If I'm very busy, I would just tell them, listen, please just give me 5 minutes. I
Mm,
If this is something extremely important, and after 5 minutes I'm going to shut this and completely listen to you. It depends on what they're saying as well. If it's something that needs like urgent attention, like they're not well or something, that's different. But if they just want to share something, then we need to hold that space. And if we can't in that exact second, it's okay to convey to them if they can just wait 5 minutes. I mean, that's a good thing to teach as well, right? That everybody's not always going to be available for you. And if you can wait 5 minutes, then you have my complete attention.
so it could be like, as per as you mentioned, situation to situation.
Yeah.
So as we anyways decide whether it's an emergency or it's an urgency, so we can think of from that perspective and deal with accordingly. But I still feel, Saira, we really need to talk about how can parents and teachers both become better listeners. So what you feel could be a strategy, or one you've already mentioned, setting up routines, or one another one you just told us is explaining the children that okay, I am there to listen to you, but currently if I'm occupied, I can express that to them and give them a little bit of time, and then completely shut the work and then listen to them. Or if, as you said, if it's an emergency, come what may, I have to shut the work and listen to them. So but what I'm trying to say is, in this conversation, when we are telling, um, what makes actually our teachers better listeners, because um, here I have seen we teachers and educators, because the number of things that we are involved into and doing things, sometimes this becomes a kind of a drawback, that you don't give a listening ear to children. And it's very important. It's not about the question answers that is there in a class or during a lesson or a lesson observation. I am more keen on talking about developing a kind of a pastoral care through listening.
100% Famida. And I think we can both agree as educators that we are, as teachers, overloaded with a lot of things. Teaching aside, there's a lot of admin sort of things
Yes,
which we wish weren't there, which would just help us, just be more present in a pastoral way, I would say. So
yes,
but then at the same time, I'm sure you agree there's something. Work is work, and we don't have control over some aspects of, say, admin tasks and things, whether we like them or we don't. You know,
hmm.
I just generally feel like I wish I could change the system itself, like give teachers less admin work, and so that we can just be focused on being even better in the
I think
class.
that's
But because
that's a whole topic to be
I
discussed.
know, right? Yeah, but because I cannot do that yet, maybe inshallah one day, but because I can't do that now, the only thing I can do is work with what I have got and what's in my hand.
Yes,
So,
yes.
for example, I take opportunity to talk to children about their day, their weekend, how they're feeling. I have a morning check-in, which I do. So every time a child comes into my class, they write their name. They'll just say good morning. They know a routine. They write their name, and then I
Hmm.
have an emotional check-in registration, like how are you feeling, kind of thing. They have their
Okay.
names on a lollipop stick, and then we use the color monster book, for well-being
Yes,
in key stage 1. So then
yes.
I've got like these spots with those monsters faces on them, so they'll just come and pop in if they're feeling happy, if they're feeling sad, they're feeling angry. So that's the
Mm,
first thing which all my students do as soon as they step in the class. And then
okay.
I don't immediately go and start questioning them. I let them come in, settle in their friends. You can tell when, your students, when they walk in happy, you can see it. When they look a bit down, you
Yes.
can see it. And then once they have settled in the morning time, they have morning work, but I use that time to actually just go and have a look if anybody's popped their name into a sad box, or like
Okay.
an
Mm.
angry. Usually it's very sweet reasons, like I'm angry because my sister poked me during breakfast. It could be something as
Okay.
small. No, honestly, that's the thing they come up with, something as small as
Okay.
that. But to
Mm.
them, it's a big thing, right? To a 5 year
Right.
old or a 6 year old, their sister poked them, it's ruined their day. So it's then I just chat to each child who has, put in their name for sad or angry, just to find out the reason.
Mm.
And then I ask them if there's something they would like me to do, or if there's something they would do. I have a calm corner in my classroom just to help them regulate.
Okay.
And yeah. And then if in the middle of the day somebody wants to tell me something, which is usually after break, after lunch, everything happens during break and
Yes.
everything goes wrong during lunch. So, um,
Absolutely.
when
I
I
so
just walk
agree to
in,
you.
like there's like five students who want to tell me, like, this one said this to me and that to me and things like that. But um,
Yeah.
I think it's just finding pockets during the day in which, if you can see a child is affected by something, or they're not looking okay, or if they want to come and talk to you about something, Famida, we just have to find those pockets during the day. Ideally, I wish there was a whole lesson to just sit and chat with the kids, but it's not there, you know.
Practically not possible.
I wish we had more time, we had more ears, we had more hands, but it's not there.
Yes.
So I think realistically, it's just finding those pockets throughout the day. And like I said, when you listen to them, then you really need to make that eye contact, make
Yeah.
them, it should be visible to them that we're listening.
Correct. I think you've clearly made two important points. One, if we look at school routines, these well-being check-ins, or looking at how their day has been or their weekend has been, sharing of having some creative way of getting their responses and then getting back to them is one very clear. I'm sure because and in UAE we all follow this because even at our school we have these well-being check-ins and other things that we do even before the day starts in. And along with this, what you mentioned, the second point is where uh, giving them that eye contact and talking face to face, giving them that time is very, it's actually required. And I would say it is for any age group, whether it is a 5 to 6 year old or whether it's a teenager or a middle schooler, because I think that eye contact and giving them an affirmation that yes, we are here to listen to you, and if there's to sort out a problem, yes, we will be there to sort out. I think That's very important. Secondly, coming to my next point here would be like when we say listening and being very cautious about and taking care that we give them a listening ear. How about how much of the time have we spent with students explaining them that how expressive they should be, like giving them that clarity on when you need to approach an adult and when you're expressing it, what are the things, because I feel this is another thing, point of discussion, especially I think any age group, but let's talk about the primary, because I feel what happens is, as you said, no, the break and the lunchtime, these are the two times where you will find a lot of things that would come out and they want to just express and tell, and sometimes they are very silly things, sometimes they are very not even required things, and sometimes they are something that we need to hear them out. So how, what could we as educators do to train the children to get this kind of an understanding?
No, I think that that is very important because, like you said, um, children then you don't want to also have them come and just like literally the whole day just go, she took my pencil, she took my eraser, and things like that. I don't look. I have just taught year one. I'm going to just go with the assumption that as children grow older, they
Hmm.
kind of do understand better what things are very minor and what things are a bigger deal.
Yes.
I've only taught in year one, so that way I would say my experience with this is quite limited to like my 5 and 6 year old sweet kids. For them, everything is a big deal. And I'm sure as children grow older, they're able to differentiate amongst themselves within their friend circles that some things are just like a very small thing and other things do affect them deeply. However, as I think as educators, maybe for example, in my school, we have moral education, and I'm sure all schools do. It's like a
Yes.
KHDA thing.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
during those moral education lessons, we do kind of teach them these things like friendships and respect and kindness. And then within those lessons, you can sort of demonstrate to them or even do role play and act out to kind of say which things your friend might do by mistake. And so that's okay. And which things are intentional. Because children don't understand sometimes the difference between an accident and an intentionally somebody doing something.
Correct.
I
Correct.
think these smaller, these are not. I'm saying these are small things. These are actually big things, but they can just be
From
incorporated
their
into
perspective,
lessons like that.
would be. Yes. Yes.
And it's like, for example, if I just told my children, oh, when you come into the classroom, you just have to see how you're feeling and put your lollipop stick in that correct thing. No, that's not how it's done. We actually have like a proper lesson in the first week itself to explain all those emotions to them, to explain how these emotions feel in your body. Like, for example, if you're nervous, you're feeling something in your stomach, that's nervous. If I just ask a child, are you nervous? They might not even know the word nervous,
Correct. Yeah.
and it's like explaining that feeling to them so that they can then relate to it and be able to tell me, yeah, okay, yeah, this is a nervous feeling. And it's like teaching them the vocabulary, teaching them, like I said, maybe in between lessons, like what's really a big deal and what's not so much a big deal. These could be things which they're more open to understanding when they're as they grow older.
So, as I think we should agree on the fact that I know here it does happen, but in any education system, there must be a kind of a period or lesson dedicated to understanding of emotions, expressing emotions, and wherein my next topic actually comes in is about student voice in schools, which has become increasingly important. But Saira, I would take a quick news break now, and then we'll be back after the news break to
Sure,
talk about what is this segment of student voice in schools and how it has to be supportive to educators and students.
sure.
In education, we all want recruitment to be fair and inclusive because the gender pay gap won't disappear without clear, practical steps in how we hire. Recent national research shows schools are already taking meaningful action. 40% of leaders now include pay or progression details in adverts. 35% highlight wellbeing support, and around 1 in 5 are using anonymised shortlisting to reduce bias. Teaching vacancies, the Department for Education's free official job listing service, makes these steps easier with clear salary fields, flexible working filters, and an application format that supports blind recruitment. It also removes previous salary questions so candidates are assessed on their skills and experience rather than their past pay. For your next hire or your next role, go online and search Teaching Vacancies Gov UK.
This show is brought to you in partnership with Hachette Learning, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Level up your professional development today and visit hachetlearning.com to explore the full range of titles.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
TES Magazine features a conversation with the Attorney General about citizenship, rule of law and social media. He says schools have difficult decisions to make about whether or not they want to remain on social media platforms such as X. Mr. Hermer also said that the current teaching on rule of law is mixed, as he launched free rule of law lesson plans for every school in England and Wales. The lesson plans have been developed with Oak National Academy and the Association for Citizenship Teachers and aim to teach young people about their rights and the legal system. Citizenship is set to become statutory for primaries following the curriculum and assessment review. More details can be found online. Schools Week says plans for written coursework will face far more scrutiny under reformed qualifications to prevent AI-fueled subversion of assessment, Ofqual Chief Ian Buckham has said. Speaking at the Festival Education and ahead of the launch of 3 V-level qualifications next year, he said, "We cannot normalise the idea that AI-generated output is a substitute for human endeavour." He also said that for the qualifications to be worth more than the paper they're written on, careful design was needed. He also cautioned against the wider use of tech in the classroom, arguing it prompts less learning, less satisfaction, less usefulness in the workplace. Mr. Borkham did, however, acknowledge the enormous potential of AI in assessment and marking. More details can be found on Schools Week. The BBC covers the story of a new but unused school which is due to be demolished because of structural issues. Matford Brook Academy in Exeter was built in 2021 and opened in 2023, but has never been used by pupils. A spokesperson for the Department for Education said an independent review found fundamental issues, including problems with its foundations, meaning it did not meet standards. The decision would mean pupils will continue to have lessons in temporary buildings until 2028. The decision to demolish and rebuild was said to be the most practical way forward. A spokesperson for the school said while it was not the news the community had hoped for, it did provide a clear way forward, and they would continue to work with DFE and keep families informed as plans developed. Finally, BBC and Family Education website features a long read on mass school closures in rural parts of Kenya. A shake-up of Kenya's education system in 2017 saw the introduction of a competency-based education, with a less exam-orientated, more creative and practical approach to teaching. But the article says it has had a devastating effect on rural junior schools, as 2,000 across Kenya now face possible closure as enrolment numbers plummet. Pupils are transferring to schools better equipped to deliver the new curriculum, even if it means pupils have to walk for over 1 hour to get there. Teachers have also said that the training for the new curriculum has been inconsistent, which has made implementation difficult too. The full story can be found online. This has been Teachers Talk Radio News with Jo Fox.
Welcome back for our show. And this is Famida Choudhary. And our topic was actually going on our conversation, very interesting with Saira, is listening beyond the answer, creating space for children's authentic voices. She started off taking through us what, as a mother, the maternal instinct actually gets into most of our educators, that we feel compassionate about our job and do give a listening ear to our children. But sometimes, due to the workload or the other expectations, we also have to juggle between this kind of attitude towards our kids in class. So she did say one is setting up routines, that she was very clear. You need to set up boundaries, set up routines, have your time reset when you enter the class. Keep yourself that me time where you keep all your thoughts, gather it, and are set to go for a lesson or for the entire school day. She also gave us the check-ins that happen, the emotional check-ins, the well-being check-ins that are there, and most importantly, a period or a lesson that is dedicated to teaching our children how to differentiate between the emotions they might come across, they feel, and how they can share it with the teachers or adults around them. Now, moving forward to my next segment was related to student voice in schools, which has become extremely important, and also from the fact that the generation that we are dealing with is not the ones who keep quiet or will just take it as it is. They need explanation for things that we ask them to do, or they are very vocal about things to say. But not denying the fact that we have certain children who yet remain silent and are not in the forefront or talking once. So when I talk about student voice, Sarah, what does authentic student voice actually look like according to you?
For me, again, I'm going to speak from my experience, and which just happens to be key stage one. But I
Absolutely.
would
Let's
think,
focus on the primary children as well. Yeah, I think that's the
yeah,
age group that also they would be the ones who will be struggling for student voice at this point of time.
right? Because they're just so adorable. Honestly, I love them so much. But
Absolutely.
and you know what? I really liked something that you pointed out was there are some children who are very vocal, who will tell you how they're feeling, who will tell you their thoughts, they want to answer. But it's those children, like you mentioned, who are silent and
Not very expressive.
sometimes, yes, they're not very expressive, and sometimes they can be overlooked if you're not vigilant.
Yes.
So I think it's very important to have that sort of connection with every child and to meet them where they're at. I
Mm.
know there were a couple, like just this year itself, there's a couple of children who kind of get shy when the teacher talks too much to them, or yeah, they'll like kind of get hesitant and get all like so. To so then if I want to just have a chat with them, I would do it when they're doing something and go start doing it with them. For example, if they're playing Lego, I'm just giving an
Yeah.
example. You just
Yeah.
start playing it with them and during that have the conversation, because
Mm.
that child is not like sitting face to face without doing anything. It may be overwhelming for them to have have a conversation in which it's just the teacher just sitting and them and talking to them. So I also do feel with younger children, and I also feel with older children, like my own children, I get the best out of them when I'm just join them in
Engage.
something they're doing.
Mm. Mm.
So for example, like my kids and I, we like my children and I, we'll just sit and color, and while coloring, oh my god, I'm gonna get the real tea. And or I'll just say, let's walk and talk. So we'll go out for a walk and talk, and that's when they'll just speak nonstop.
Yes.
Rather than if I were just to sit them down and say, come on, let's talk, then it's less likely that they would just start telling me a lot. So I think it's meeting children where they are at. Also, I think asking them, this is what was my own learning actually, and from my post which you picked up was, when we ask them opinions, and then we almost, I think, subconsciously want
Mm.
their opinion to match what we had in our head.
Head. Yes. Yes.
And I think that for me has been the biggest learning, is to accept that when I'm asking somebody from an opinion, it can be different from mine. And that's
Mm-hmm.
okay, even if that's my own child. So I think it's not just getting them to like express or giving them agency, it's also what you do with it then.
Correct.
Just like a small example, like in my class, I said, oh, if they reached a certain target, like the whole class could have a party. It could be a slime party or a Play-Doh party, and then I got my students to vote, and then
Okay.
whatever they chose as their reward is what we decided we will do.
Mm,
So
mm.
if I
I
ask
think this is
them,
a
but then in
very
the end, if
mm,
I ask them for their opinion, okay, yeah, tell me, and in the end, I just did what I wanted to do, then they're
then
probably
that
going to
doesn't
be
work
like,
out. Mm,
mm. So
absolutely.
so I think it's about giving them a voice, and then also kind of then giving it a proper conclusion in a way. That doesn't mean that we have to do everything they ask us to do. You know,
Correct.
if all my students voted that they did not want a lesson, doesn't mean I'm not going to do the lesson. You know,
Absolutely.
so
Yes.
you have to kind of pick your battles.
Yes. So I think that's a great way of getting student voice in place. And I think that's in true sense being authentic, where you mentioned that, the, the example that you shared is like fantabulous, where, you ask for something, but though they might not give you an answer according to your expectations, but they have an alternative. And why not? If it is feasible and if it is good to go, we can, might as well. Now, one more thing I think I remember of one of the things that came into my mind right away was, um, recently I've had this thing of a few students not wanting to eat. Like, it's their break time, but somehow maybe they don't like what mama is giving, and because maybe it's too healthy, or they just want to go ahead and take something, snack something in the lunch, all because not because of the fact that here we are anyways very clear on that the canteens should have healthy options for children. So
Yeah,
it's not that they're getting attracted towards junk food, but it is just that giving them that kind of a walk and talk, like,
yeah,
the lunch hall is a little far off, so let's go, uh, have a
yeah,
stroll, pick up something and come back. Until the time you're back, there's hardly any time to finish it off also. So
yeah,
that's a different thing. But what I was trying to say is, there was this some thing that they don't want to eat. Okay, now what was the reason of it was, put on something for us to watch. So now, after getting into detailing of this, it is, many parents or children at home have got into the habit of watching and eating,
yeah, yeah,
basically maybe their device, or and it was becoming a little difficult for me to explain them that, yes, we also have a TV, we also have, but we this is like no eating. Okay, so what happened was, when you said opinion, I put the ball in their court and I asked them, okay, fine, we will not be watching. You tell me what is an alternative, what we can do while you sit and eat, and you can do something. So they got into a group, they had a discussion, and then they came up that whatever is the seating arrangement, you allow us to sit with our friends in a group, and we have conversations and we can talk and we can eat. Because the seating that they were sitting was not with their friends, again because you have another ball game and they are too with your friends,
yes,
and
yeah,
other things to tackle. So I said, okay, let's try. Okay, I said, fine. I think I don't mind you talking, because then another thing was that it shouldn't be that you're talking so much and yet not eating. Like, you're
yeah,
just having your, and eating, I mean to say, talking while eating is another set to be taken care of,
yes,
because it shouldn't be that, you choking up and, not,
yeah.
you're just into the conversation. So we came up with a rule. Okay, we'll talk,
So
we will.
I'm so excited to know what happened in the end. How did it play out for you?
Yes. So what happened is, I did give them an chance and opportunity. Okay, sit with your friends. You can talk and you can eat, but condition being that the talking volume, basically
Yeah,
in-house volume, has to be maintained, because you can't be too loud. If everybody starts talking, then we'll have other things to be taken care of. And when you're eating, actually, you eat 5 minutes and talk 5 minutes. So you keep a break. It's not that while eating you're talking. So
yeah,
this, it really worked out, and they were really happy that we're getting time to sit with our friends, we're getting time, because they also express the fact that the entire day is so scheduled that this period,
Yes.
this task. When do we get to talk to our friends, ma'am?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So you have the break
So
time
so
now.
so it did not backfire.
No, it worked
That's
out well,
great.
but yeah, so I was happy. And then, once or twice I had my head of section just take her around, and she was like, "What's happening? Break time? There's a lot of discussion. What topic is going on?" I said,
No,
"No."
that's amazing. It's
Yeah,
like
I
also
said, "No,
gives them
this
the
is."
opportunity to talk to each other.
Yeah, and I also happen to sit on some tables to just get a feel of
Yeah.
what they talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at times I got a welcoming kind of attitude, and sometimes, "You please do not sit
They
here."
were like, what are you? Stop snooping around.
Yes.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah. So I think, because I'm the grade level that I'm talking to you, Saira, I must tell you, this is my grade 2.
Okay.
So yeah, they're little. They are also not that,
No, I think it's amazing. I think it's so important to give them small opportunities to make choices and make decisions. But
yeah.
of course, as the adult, you have to kind of think of whether that's the right moment or not.
And the best part is that I think of such kind of decisions when we take is when they have chosen something, they
Yeah.
do take the responsibility.
Yes.
They feel that, this is what I had suggested. It
Yeah.
has been heard, it has been respected, and we've been given the leeway. And so let's utilize it in a appropriate way. So, I think when I'm maybe people might disagree to me, but I have seen this via a few things that we have done, when some things that come up from the students, and they take it up as a kind of a, like a technique to express themselves and go ahead with a opinion or a decision that they've taken. They respect that by the very fact that, because it is their own and it has
Yes.
been, um,
That's so
agreed
true for
to.
me. Absolutely. I think you've just given some very lovely examples. And I'm also thinking like you mentioned, this generation is not the kind of generation where it'll be like, we said so, so do something. They are quite vocal, which I absolutely love about them. Honestly, it is so challenging as a parent to my kids, like I have to explain everything. And
Mm,
where we grew up with, like I told you so, if I said something, I said it. I don't have to explain it to you. But the next generation, they're very vocal, they want to know reasons, and I feel they stand up for themselves, and they also stand up for their friends. If they see some injustice, they're more vocal just generally. And if we want them to make a good change in the world, then it's we need to then also give them the confidence that their voice matters.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's move on to the next one. I think there's a lot again a talk about this is the homeschool partnership, where parents and teachers both want the best for the children who are under our care. So basically, I think here it's not a problem at all, because all our schools, actually all education systems over here, look at this homeschool partnership very closely. But I would still ask in for some of your suggestions. How can actually schools or teachers encourage conversations rather than just coming to judgments? And more importantly, I'm saying is, I don't know what is your say on this, but I feel till today, yet we have parents who focus so much on academics rather than the holistic development of the child. Though we have the landscape moving completely on the holistic development, but when it comes to results, when it comes to marks, whenever we sit for a parent consultation meeting, you will find, most of the parents wanting to only see the A1s, or, only hear the best out of it.
Yeah. No, no, I agree with that. I feel, Famida, the partnership between parents and teachers is so extremely important. Honestly, it can ruin a teacher's year if I'm being honest. If that's if you've got some challenging ones there, but I just hope people would actually realize, both teachers and parents, that we're all actually on the same team, and the goal is the same, is the for the child to thrive.
Mm.
And we just see different sides to the coin or different pieces of the puzzles, but actually a teacher and a parent's end goal is the child. And I think it just benefits the child so much, Famida, if the parents and the teachers are in collaboration, working together as a
Yes.
team, giving each other respect and understanding. And I think that goes both ways. Like for example, as a teacher, I have to respect the fact that a parent does know their child the best,
Yes.
emotionally, or how that child functions emotionally, or what that child's thinking process is. So it's so important to have that insight from the parents. Nobody can tell you about a child better than their parents. And at the
Correct.
same time, I just hope every parent realizes that teachers genuinely care. We put our heart out for these kids. And I think parents should assume positive intent. Like any teacher who's in the classroom, she is going to care for your child. And I
Yes.
just
Yes.
wish parents kind of give teacher that trust as well. So I
Yes.
think it is a two-way thing, but honestly, it is the most important thing for the child.
I think
Um,
when we say about this homeschool partnership, sorry to just interrupt in
no, no,
between,
please,
but
please do.
yeah, something that just came up, is when I say listening beyond the answer, it also applies to our parents. Meaning,
Yes.
many a times they behave same like our kids. When you have something to tell them, they have a lot, and they would always want us to be like, the one who listens first,
Yeah.
and then, maybe dictates something to them. So as you said, they are the best person to know about the child, because sometimes, I have seen, when I would give a comment like, the child is so obedient, he listens well, and this, and you'll get to hear the opposite. Oh, at home she does not listen at all. And
Or
she
for me,
doesn't
it's the same thing. I'm going to say if that's the same thing for my own kids. My daughter is such a diva, honestly. But when her
yeah.
teacher speaks about her, and I
Uh,
just go like, is she talking about my daughter?
yeah, we have that, but as I said, when I talk about this listening beyond, is as teachers, along with children, we have to have this listening for the parents. And
100%.
yeah, and the home school partnership actually has to be like the way we teach. I don't know if it is feasible, but I would actually have sessions with parents of how they need to, speak, not like basically how they need to speak to us, but what is they need to keep us informed about their kids at home. Because at times it is not the things that we must know are shared, rather it could be something else. But there are certain things that they must be open enough and share it and inform us. It would be as simple as, not wait for a PCM, but if something has happened, keep us posted. At times I have
No,
seen.
I completely agree with that because I just think that is something to be established between the teacher and the parent, and like the
Parent.
on the orientation day itself. Like
Yes,
when I
yes,
first meet the parents, that's your chance to tell them, like, listen, you can come to me. I am on your team. We're on the same team. We need to be on the same team for this
correct.
child because
Yes.
at the end of the day, you want the best for that child, and I want the best for that child. And there
Yeah. So
should be
basically
like
setting
that
expectations.
open communication kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm also going to say that this is will be a bit controversial, but I also do feel these days parents almost have too much access to the teacher, where I think
Yes.
sometimes it's just almost over communicating.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
That's what I
and
said. Setting
yeah,
expectations, basically,
yeah,
how we are teaching our kids as to how to share their or be expressive, or what are the emotions they need to tell us. At times, I feel when we are building this homeschool partnership, it is also having masterclass with parents as to how to, in this current day and age that we're dealing with children, how they need to have whatever
yeah,
mini meals, or the way they need to take care of how you keep the educator or the concerned teacher posted of things. And also not to what you say, taken for granted. Like, even if she's there on the same team, but that doesn't mean that, as you said, over communication also. So looking at from both sides and helping
Yeah,
to make sure that if we are a team, we work in sync together.
yeah, yeah,
Because at times even I feel certain things that you might have taught in class, like as plain as I said now, is while eating you don't watch TV or you don't watch a device.
yeah,
The same thing should have been back home, because
yeah,
there is the play time where the monotony is broken, when something that is taught in school is not practiced at home.
yeah,
So it would be as simple as the homework task. Like if I have given something to be revisited or re-looked at with parents back home, it is for a purpose. And of course, it is not like bombarded with too many things. We also have a structure and a way of doing it. But then we need that involvement, we need that time, and we need that listening when the teacher is saying.
yeah. No, I agree with you. It's very small things like packing their own lunch bag or packing their own bags.
Absolutely,
Sometimes,
absolutely.
sometimes
Yes,
children cannot zip their bags
absolutely.
because
Yes.
they're so used to somebody else doing it for them. And
Correct.
so these are small things, that you can communicate with parents to just kind of tell them that this is for their own child's independence.
Yes.
And yeah, I find another thing very tricky, Famida, is when sometimes parents expect the child to be behaving same in class than they do in school. For example, if you have a child who needs to be supported for their learning in class, and then you have
Hmm.
parents saying, no, but at home they do it all by themselves, or
Yes. Yes.
I sit with them and they do it, and they should realize that in class they're not sitting with them. So
Hmm.
I think it's just about understanding. Just understand that everybody is in a certain situation. So no, I think it's so much important to have those open conversations with
Yeah, I
parents as
think
well,
you've
and
said
it's so
it.
important for them to be on the same page.
Yeah, and I think you've said it very clearly and rightfully that, at the beginning of the year itself, when we have the conversation with the team of parents of students who are under our care, we need to, express this and share it very clearly that, yeah, we are on the same team and you can share things. But this is how is my way of working. And this is how you can continue to do at home as well. I think simple strategies that can set the home and school routine for the betterment of students. Saira, I'll be taking a quick ad break right now and we'll be
Sure.
back with a quick rapid fire for you.
Sure.
So be ready.
Okay.
In education, we all want recruitment to be fair and inclusive because the gender pay gap won't disappear without clear, practical steps in how we hire. Recent national research shows schools are already taking meaningful action. 40% of leaders now include pay or progression details in adverts. 35% highlight wellbeing support, and around 1 in 5 are using anonymised shortlisting to reduce bias. Teaching vacancies, the Department for Education's free official job listing service, makes these steps easier with clear salary fields, flexible working filters, and an application format that supports blind recruitment. It also removes previous salary questions so candidates are assessed on their skills and experience rather than their past pay. For your next hire or your net role, go online and search Teaching Vacancies Gov UK.
This show is brought to you in partnership with Hachette Learning, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Level up your professional development today and visit hachetlearning.com to explore the full range of titles.
Welcome back, listeners. We are on the last part of our conversation today, and it has been really interesting, Saira, just having that, practical strategies and day to day lesson and day to day activity discussions with you. And I just want to dive directly into this rapid fire. So you need to be completing the sentences that I'll be calling out. Ready?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's begin with the topic for today. Basically, listening is,
Important skill.
childhood is,
The foundation for everything.
a great teacher,
Never stops learning.
a great parent,
Is willing to apologize.
trust grows when,
people feel valued.
One habit every family should have.
Uninterrupted conversations.
One habit every classroom should have.
Belonging. Every child should feel like they belong there.
One book every parent should read.
One book honestly, I've read so many parenting books, but the book that has taught me the most is my kids. So talk to your kids.
Okay. One thing children wish adults understood.
That their feelings matter, even if we don't agree, but they matter.
Absolutely. I think that's great responses and actually key takeaways in your responses as well, Saira. Saira, thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
such an honest and heartfelt conversation.
Thank you very much, Hamid. It was lovely chatting with you.
Same here, same here. Anything that you want to tell our listeners before I just close and wrap up?
Yeah, no, I would just say to all adults, like, put your own oxygen mask first, because if we are not regulated, we cannot regulate a dysregulated child. So it's so important to look after our own selves, because
Yes.
we're so focused on giving care that we forget ourselves. So if we cannot pour from an empty cup, so yeah, I would just tell all adults to look after their own selves so that they can look after others.
Absolutely, Saira. That's so
Thank
true
you.
and perfectly said. Today's discussion actually reminds us that children don't need perfect adults, they just need present adults, as you
Present.
said.
That's absolutely love that.
Adults who listen before they come to judgments, or who ask before they assume, who seek to understand before they seek to correct. Perhaps the greatest lesson today is children don't always need better answers from us. Sometimes they simply need us to hear theirs. And I think we will just end the conversation with this. Please, and everybody out there listening to us, do give a listening ear to your kids. Set routines, set boundaries, set expectations. Even have that same thing for your classrooms, and give children the option of taking, putting their opinions forward to you, and consider their decisions. Give them a voice. Student voice is something we spoke of. And lastly, the homeschool partnership. Do maintain that and keep the culture of listening alive. Thank you. And thank you for all those who joined us today. And we will have this show released, and it will be open to all to listen further and continue to apply these key takeaways. Thank you, Saira. Thank you so much
Thank
for our
you. Thank
show
you so
today.
much. Thank you very much, Hamida.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.